Welcome to the Escape and Empower podcast. Escape from the corporate rat race to empowered franchise ownership. Are you ready to take control of your destiny, follow your dreams, and live life on your own terms? Join our hosts, Dave and Pete, for insights on how to break free from the corporate grind, ditch the 9-to-5, and step into empowered franchise ownership.
Good morning and welcome to the Escape and Empower podcast. My name is Dave Greenberg and I am here with my co-host and dear friend Pete.
Good morning, Dave.
Pete, how are you on this beautiful morning?
As usual, I'm pumped up for the day. Let's go, baby.
I love it. You know, we're here with purpose. And I love the podcast because we always feel like we have a purpose behind it. I think today's discussion really was inspired by one of my candidates. When I was going through our consultation, we started thinking about what is a purpose-driven franchise? How can being purpose-driven or leading with a mission roll into small business ownership? And when you start thinking about that, how does purpose-driven leadership in franchising to come to life? Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or just exploring business ownership, having a clear mission or a purpose-driven mission, whatever your North Star is, comes to light. And it was really nice that, this candidate and I had a really meaningful discussion about it. And so when thinking about today's podcast, that's what I wanted to talk about. Where's your North Star? What is your purpose? What is your mission? How do you lead with it? And how can you get there with small business ownership through franchising?
So what is the one question we're going to answer today? So, we always have this, we're going to answer one question, we're going to have a great dialogue. What is the one question as we talk about this purpose-driven franchise owner? What is the question?
I lead with my candidate's thought, and I also lead with experience on this thought, is how can small business owners discover and lead with purpose through franchising?
Tell us a little bit about your experience. You've owned multiple businesses, so as you kind of think about this idea of having a purpose-driven life, a purpose-driven business, right? Why is that important?
Well, I think it was about 12 years ago or so, I was having this conversation with you, Pete, when you were my consultant. And when you brought to me a salon suite concept, I really just wanted an executive model, no moving parts, wanted to work on the business. But really, once I got into it, it was truly purpose-driven, because today 270 or so entrepreneurs own and run their own businesses under our roofs, and 99.5% of them are women. So giving someone an opportunity to own their own business where they can't afford a storefront, they don't want to work for the man, they have a book of business, I found it to be super purpose-driven. When you were trying to provide an opportunity for beauty and wellness professionals to work for themselves. And so that was my experience in discovering how there was a real purpose behind just the business characteristics I was looking for in my investment.
But so let's talk about that. When I presented to you a salon suite concept, right? It is a lot of times just considered a real estate play. It's a very simple business. Right. It can be you or you can have one employee, and you're basically just leasing space out to people and providing an environment for them to conduct business. On the surface, that doesn't sound like it's a very purpose-driven business, right? You're just leasing space out. But as you dove in and you really investigated the franchise opportunity, you found that when we go deeper, even something that sounds like it doesn't have a lot of purpose really does. And so it's not about necessarily the widget, I've got space to lease, but it's about what that widget or that service or product can do to make a difference, to have that purpose. Because we all have to have purpose to go forward.
Absolutely. And what I found, Pete, is the alignment of my personal values with the business and the brand was super important and empowering and enlightening, because we all talk about wanting to create culture and have that culture be part of your business and the environment in which your customers enjoy, experience, and it was a simple thing. The password in our business is called Happy Place. We've talked about that before. All of a sudden, we create an environment where, this is a happy place for everyone to log into and be part of it. And I found through discovery that the salon suite concept and my ability to support entrepreneurial pursuits of beauty and wellness professionals, what really aligned with what I wanted. And, in there was a real pull towards health health and wellness as well.
Yeah, there's no question about it. I mean, when we talk about kind of aligning your values, for me, I went from the corporate world to owning a junk roll franchise, right? And you go, well, how does that tie to values, right?
Right.
But for me, the values were I wanted to have an organization that we're doing the right thing, right? Instead of stuff going automatically into, for lack of better terms, junkyards or basically dumps. Bottom line is that with Junk King, we were all about helping keep stuff out. So repurposing stuff, recycling stuff, so that the little went into the dumps and the garbage dumps. And so bottom line is, I like that tied to my values from that standpoint. But if you said, hey, Pete, I want you to invest in a junk removal franchise, you go, well, junk removal, how does that tie to my values? Well, you take it deeper and say, listen, I'm actually making a difference in the world, keeping stuff out of the dumps, recycling stuff, repurposing stuff. Well, now there's a deeper purpose or meaning with that business.
There's a second piece to the conversation, and I think we'll have 7 pieces, but the one that always comes up in our consultations is, what is community to you? And how does that work within maybe discovering what your purpose is? And there are a bunch of answers to that. What are your thoughts on what is community to small business ownership or franchising?
You know, community is everything, right? You and I come from large corporations. And when you're in a large corporation, it's really hard to connect to community. You and I were moving a couple years. We were basically traveling and stuff like that. We're engaged at work a lot of hours. And so you don't get that opportunity. As a small business owner, my buddy calls it, you're hyper local. You're engaged in a community, right? You're creating jobs. You're sponsoring the Little League team. You are, for lack of better terms, running for mayor, right? I like to say you're out there, you're at events, you're talking to people. And that is really, to me, purpose. To be engaged, finally, after having a very long corporate career, to be involved and engaged in the community, I found that gave me a lot of purpose.
I think that's great. You know, I have a recent example that ties back to my roots. My grandfather in Cape Cod was a butcher many, many years ago, 100 plus years ago. He started out as a butcher, he grew into an S.S. Pierce dry goods dealer and all that stuff. But, you know, we have opportunities that present as a local neighborhood butcher and small business and franchising. And the elements of community in that is you connect with your customers, you build a relationship, you're the face of the brand, but also, like you said, you have the opportunity to donate meals, work with shelters, be part of the community, like you said, youth sports teams. But, you know, there's many businesses like that. People say, what's sexy? Well, the money I make. Well, not really. There's another piece that rolls into, and I like this third piece because empowerment and empowering is a really important word to me. Empowering employees can be purpose-driven, lifting others up. Most people talk about, yeah, I'm really good at building teams. I love to develop people. Well, that doesn't stop when you leave the corporate world, right?
Absolutely not. And the idea of empowering people is that as a leader of the business, you can set that tone. You can empower employees. I mean, a lot of times when you're in a large corporation, you can't empower people, right? You don't have that authority to empower them. And what you're teaching people is to be able to look at a situation and be able to handle that customer or handle that issue and empower them to make decisions. And you know what? They're going to make mistakes. That's called learning. Mistakes are learning. And so if you can be involved with your business where you've got good employees, you're empowering them to do the right thing for customers and they're continuing to grow with it. To me, that's a great purpose, is helping develop people become better.
And, you know, when you carry that through to the customer experience, there's a mission. How do you make sure you impact a beautiful, value-added customer experience? Being mission-driven on customer loyalty, that does nothing but build your business and brand, and making sure you provide exceptional service so people feel connected to your brand. It really creates a sustainable success. So, you know, I thought on customer experiences, which is certainly part of small business and franchising, it can be purpose-driven. It can be mission-driven. Wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. We just went to an Italian restaurant. It's a little local restaurant here in Marco Island. And I got to tell you, the owner, you could just tell he had a passion about the customer experience. He greeted everybody. He shook everybody's hands. He welcomed them. He knew many of the customers. You could tell they had been there before. You know, the ladies kiss him on the cheek, the old Italian thing, right? But the deal was that he was engaged. All his employees were dialed into the experience. Like, they forgot to bring in something as part of my meal. And the waiter came up and says, I just want to let you know, I put that on the thing. Here's my thing. I put it into the kitchen. They just forgot to do it. And I just wanted to apologize. I'm like, holy cow, what a great experience, right? So we go have this great experience at Italian restaurant. We decide we're going to go get ice cream next door, right? So we go there, and literally the gal is rude to us. So like, she goes, what do you want? And like, I'm going, oh, okay, that's mine. And then I'm getting my next family member ready for their order. And she's like, what do you want? What's next? And I'm like, just, you know, we're ordering ice cream. Just, you know, it doesn't have to be intense, right? And that's about that customer experience. And it starts with the owner. If your mission, your passion is to provide that experience, whoever it is that comes in to your business or interacts with your business, that's huge, is delivering that impactful customer experience that I remember and I'll tell others about.
Right. So, you know, we've talked about a lot of things that can be purpose-driven and mission-driven through business ownership, and certainly your purpose-driven leadership can deliver on those things. But this franchise, you know, idea is it comes with a proven business system. You know, is there a way that can be mission-driven?
Absolutely. I mean, when you take a look at the business, I mean, the systems, the processes, they can put good, ethical business practices in place, customer-centric strategies, have purpose with it. So franchise can take something, and we'll just say tutoring, right? We have this idea, we have a proven business model, how we can help kids that may be struggling with school, and we can help them in a way that makes an impact in their life using our proven system of tutoring or teaching.
You know, I love youth enrichment category, you know, whether it's tutoring or whether it's sports or, you know, there's so many life lessons that you can deliver through youth enrichment. You know, that's a system that is just fantastic. The other thing I thought about, Pete, when I was preparing this is innovation. We can boil the ocean, but when you start thinking of things that can have impact, you know, there's room for creativity. There's systems in the business, there's systems in franchising. You know, you can also think about innovation with purpose, with a little bit of creativity.
Oh, there's no question about it. I mean, you will say you are a painting company and you figure out a paint that is eco-friendly, right? And it doesn't have some of the dangerous chemicals in it. Or you can figure out a way where you can clean windows 6 stories high without your employees getting on a ladder. The idea is that you can innovate, you can use different technologies. Or, you know what, there's a junk roll franchise that has an app that you can literally, just almost like you order an Uber, you can order somebody to come pick up the junk in your driveway, right? So many ways people are leveraging, franchisors are leveraging technology to make it a better experience, make it more eco-friendly from that standpoint, and it's all tied to their mission.
And I think, you know, go back to a couple things we've talked about, and my personal experiences with Brentwood Cleaners. And this goes back to when my kids were in high school and they were in sports. You know, Brentwood Cleaners, small dry cleaners, you know, located right in the community, always had a banner up, whether it was in the hockey game or the lacrosse game. They would always participate. And, you know, I always went to them. I never questioned anyone else because they gave back to the community. Until this day, I mean, geez, my kids are, you know, 10 years out of high school, and I still go back to Brentwood Cleaners. I wouldn't change for a minute, even if I had an extra drive, just because they took that innovation for creativity, put it into the marketing, connected with the community. And, you know, I'm a survey of one, but, you know, that's an example that I hold on to a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you think about it, it's dry cleaning, right? And it's a commodity, for lack of better terms, a commodity service. And if you can take and make it where you are part of that community and you're innovating in the way in which you reach out to the community, you're just not a dry cleaner, you're a dry cleaner that cares. It cares about the community, has a mission to help the community.
So you got to put your money where your mouth is, Pete. We talked about this in the corporate world, and I've talked about it with candidates. I'm sure you have too. Whether you're an executive owner or whether you're an owner-operator, you need to lead by example. And having a purpose behind what you're doing, setting the tone for your team, setting the tone for your customers, setting the tone for a community, leading with authenticity and integrity, that is purpose driven.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we're both parents, right? And as parents, we have to lead life by example, right? If you tell your kids don't do drugs and you're doing drugs, right? You're not leading by example. Well, it's the same thing with employees, right? It's about this, how do you treat others? Because your employees are going to treat others the way you do, right? They're going to lead by example. And so if you're not leading with good purpose and intent, whether you're dealing with customers or vendors and stuff like that, the idea is that you're setting the example for your employees. And to your point is that put your money where your mouth is. If you truly want your employees to treat people right, then they need to see you treating people right. So they understand that next time you're not there, they're going to do what you would do in that situation.
So we started this podcast with a little conversation, then a question. How can small business owners discover and lead with purpose through franchise? I think we've talked about a number of ways you can do that, but how would you wrap that up, Pete?
When we talk about just a simple business like a franchise, the deal is that on the surface, it may not look like it has purpose. And when we talk about purpose, that's about being engaged in the community. It's about essentially helping employees, helping customers, and having that purpose. And a purpose-driven life is significant, right? Because, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. And so if you can leverage a franchise to have that purpose-driven life, because again, as we talked about being in the corporate world, it's hard to have that purpose. So if you can kind of use a franchise as a mechanism to do that, that's what life's all about, is having purpose and moving forward and making the world a better.
So if you're listening to Pete and I today and you'd like to have a discussion about exploring opportunities to purpose-driven mission, we're happy to talk to you about that. You go to hireyourself.com and set up a 15-minute with Pete or meeting with Pete, or you go to empoweredfranchisee.com and set up a 15-minute with me, 15-minute call with me. We'll figure out if it makes sense to work together in 15 minutes. And if you want to go on that journey, we'll be happy to work through this discussion as a part of the other things we talk about in our consultations to really find the right fit for you and your next business investment in franchising. So thanks for tuning in. Pete, thanks for being part of this conversation, and I look forward to the next episode.
You got it. Thanks. Have a great day.
Thanks for tuning in to the Escape and Empower podcast. We hope today's discussion has inspired you to consider franchise ownership as a path to leading life on your own terms. Start your journey towards financial freedom and flexibility. Connect with Dave at empoweredfranchisee.com or Pete at hireyourself.com. Until next time.